questions. So they are all marketing questions, so they'll be perfect for everybody on this panel. We're good? Fantastic, we're live. Hi everybody, welcome to the last panel. Hey Clinton. Welcome to the last panel on day 3 of Craft Expo, Girls Who Print Day. Yay, Mary Beth Smith. We've had a wild turnout today. It's a little towards the end of the day right now. It's winding down around here, but not in the education department here at Print Media Center in the Printiverse. So we're going to have a panel today called an ROI River Runs Through It, Mapping Your Multi-Channel Marketing Systems. And we basically have experts up here from their own companies who are going to, we're going to actually have a marketing discussion now and try to help the printers and the audience out there create better communications with their customers. So we're going to start off by just basically who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into some questions. So Kim? Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Deborah. My name's Kim Owen, and I'm here representing Arific today, and they have estimating software that provides instant print quotes 24/7. And just so you can remember, Arific rhymes with terrific. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Joanne?
Hi, I'm Joanne Gore. I'm the Director of Marketing for Avanti. We've developed a cloud-based print MIS solution. We won a couple of must-seems this year. And I've been in the print industry for far too long. I've worn many hats. I've been agency side and client side. So some of my responses depend on what hat I choose to wear.
Thank you. Matthew Parker.
Hi, I'm Matthew Parker. I'm the champion of print at Profitable Print Relationships, and I used to be a print buyer. And now I work with printing companies, and typically some of my clients are frustrated that all the conversations seem to focus on price. They're fed up with a lack of customer loyalty. They're struggling to differentiate themselves to the competition. So I work with them with a variety of training and mentoring solutions to help them overcome these issues with sales and marketing. Why me? It's because I've had over 1,400 sales pitches from printing companies in my buyer's life. It's a big part of my life I can't get back. There's a lot of sales and marketing people out there, but nobody comes at it from the print buyer's point of view. So, and you can find out more about me on my website at www.profitableprintrelationships.com.
Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Weiss, and I'm with Xerox Corporation, and I'm responsible for our customer business development activities. So that's creating programs and services that actually help our customers be successful with any kind of production device or hardware or software that they may purchase from Xerox.
Thanks so much. I don't think we're going to have to worry about Mark Subers being too loud, everybody. Before you speak, I actually just want to thank you for a few things. First of all, for partnering with the Print Media Center for 2 years, for basically validating my existence. And I get all emotional when the people are on this panel that have really helped me, and you're one of them. And just thank you so much for it. Thank you seriously for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Mark
Well,
Subers.
you're certainly welcome. And I'll try not to be. Wow. Thank you. I'll try not to be too loud here. I am Mark Subers, as Deb said. I am the president of the printing, packaging, and publishing groups at North American, now NAPCO Media, formerly North American Publishing Company. So why me? Everyone's kind of answering that question. At the heart of what we do, especially on my side of things, Mark Michelson being our editor-in-chief, he does a little bit more of the content development. But at the essence of what we do is really, we are a marketing engine. Between our magazines online, the events we do, our e-learning with webinars, is really to empower and help our clients working through their marketing plans.
And actually, I'll stay with you for the first question. How are you using print and electronic media to market your products and services? What is working and what isn't?
That's a really interesting question, and I'm not sure how well we do it for ourselves. I mean, we're not that differentiated, I think, sometimes from printers who do it for their clients but don't do it so well for themselves. I think when it comes to us, ours is a lot of one-to-one relationships in terms of understanding the needs of what our clients are. Very consultative speaking. we don't really scattershot market at all. We really try to be very, very one-on-one, very, sales-oriented in terms of working with the clients, understanding needs, and then applying what we have in terms of solutions to their specific requirements and needs. So are we great at marketing ourselves? Probably not. We're fantastic at marketing everyone else, though.
Now, before we move on, did you receive any resistance being a publishing company, going to a media company and offering more digital electronic offerings, quite frankly?
Yeah, we have actually. One of our current titles is actually, I came up through this industry when my father started something that was a paper buyer's guide way back when in 1966 when I was born, and that was a long time ago. And so we actually stopped print this year, and we're only going to offer it online through Printing Impressions site. So we got some really pretty big pushback from that, as you would imagine. It's been 50 years, and we've just come off and only online, and we're not in print anymore. But it matches up better, right? It's an informational directory that really plays better. I don't really think, from in terms of our clients and our audience and our readership, that they want to engage us at multiple levels, right? So they want us to be online, they want to be in print, and it's really being where they want to be, where they want us to be. And so, I think pushback, no, not so much. I think people are just engaging where they want to engage with us.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Xerox.
Thanks. We use a variety of marketing techniques and tactics to reach our customers from most of our direct mail. I think, like everybody's, used to be a blast. Just hard copy, sent out to thousands. But over probably the last 10 or 12 years, we've really practiced what we preach, and now our approach is much more personalized, utilizing multiple multi-channel marketing in all of our activities. So that's very often how we'll generate leads and also increase awareness about our new product offerings. From a business development perspective, we rely a lot on social media. Bill Michael, our social media director, has a great blog. I think some of you may be familiar with
He
it.
actually does. I was actually going to interject after you finish, in case you didn't mention it. He does one of the most fantastic jobs of any corporation out there, and he is Johnny on the spot. Quite frankly, when people ask me for referrals, I go to him first, because he's the first one to respond to me, and he's got my handy link that I love. And even though I have the link that goes to all of your customers.
Yep.
I ask him for it publicly. 2 seconds later, it's there. Everybody sees that he's giving it, and we're sitting here because of him. So thank you. You do a fabulous job.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. And I think we are able to utilize Bill's blog that he writes and all of his social media activities as well, and drive to other channels. From a business development perspective, I run a webinar series for our production customers, and actually anybody in the industry can participate. And in that, we really aren't talking about product. We're really talking about ideas to help our customers grow their business, and how it's really about, just as we have to practice what we preach, our customers need to do that with their clients as well.
Thanks so much. Matthew? If you want to apply this to yourself, and then maybe what you see from printers, that's completely up to you.
Sure. Okay, so I've got two answers then. Okay. So let's talk first about what I do, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I see in the printing industry, about how printers are marketing themselves with success stories. First of all, I want to tell you what I do, and I'm at the point now where I'm very lucky. I've given up cold calling for any of my marketing activity, which is great. And people find me through my content marketing, and you will find me on all the appropriate groups for my target market, which is printing companies. You'll find me on Twitter, you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm very lucky to have been asked to blog for the Xerox production blog, and for Printing Impressions as well. And some other magazines also feature my content as well. And that content drives people to my website, where they're encouraged to join my newsletter list, Views from the Buyer, which is free, but it allows me then to send content to people where they're not just driving by and I'm hoping they see it. It goes into their inbox and they're engaging with it because they've signed up for it. And I have calls to action on that content, which may be to actually go the full mile and to buy from me, but it may also be to interact with me, to do some downloads, and then I know who's done that, and you may even get a phone call from me at that point. But I try and take each channel to drive my prospects to the next point where I want them to be. The other thing I do in multi-channel marketing is I'm trying to use new channels which are more disruptive. So if you go back to traditional sales, everyone is still using, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are still using the phone and the email. And it's so difficult to get through to people using those channels these days. And I'm using to have direct one-on-one conversations, marketing and sales conversations. I'm using channels like WhatsApp, like SMS, like Twitter, LinkedIn, things where people aren't expecting you to come up on a one-to-one conversation yet. And therefore I'm getting a much better response. And in a few years everyone will be doing those, and I'll have to find the next one. So I'm carrying on being disruptive in different channels and getting people's attention. Let's go to printing companies now, and some companies are doing that, but actually one of the most successful things I'm seeing a few printing companies doing is they're moving away from email and from phone, and they're using this really advanced technology. It's called ink on paper. And they're actually using their own product to communicate with people. And if you send out a direct mail piece to a carefully targeted list of people with a call to action on it, they're getting a great response from that. And because there's a call to action to contact the printer for a further resource or to go to a Pearl, they know who's interacting with them, who they should take the conversation with further. And that's proving to be very effective for some companies.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Joanne?
So, for us, our customers are printers. As a marketer, I have to encourage the printers to stop being the cobblers with no shoes and help them recognize they have the tools and the ability and everything at their fingertips to be extremely creative. So how can we help them with that? What can we do both from a software perspective in so much as leveraging their CRM, leveraging their database, understanding their customers? That whole side of it is a given. How they choose to interact with their customers, I think there needs to be, to your point, some of the basic things sometimes get forgotten. There needs to be a call to action. And is that call to action to click? Is it to visit? Is it to call? What does it need? Is it to scan a QR code? That depends on the audience. And that's where the synergies have to come into mining your database, knowing who you're talking to, and understanding you may not always have the same call to action depending on who the audience is.
And I'd just like to add that today in the show daily, you actually customized your ad for Girls Who Print Day, and you were the only one I saw who did that. So
thank you.
You certainly got noticed. Avanti certainly got noticed for it. So great
Thanks.
job.
I've actually had a lot. We were extremely, extremely busy yesterday, busier than we have ever been at any Graph Expo. And people kept coming up and saying, why? And I said, because we actually spent the time to promote the event, and not only just us, but we leveraged our partners. Especially, Deborah, you have done an amazing job helping us be front and center, and I could not think of a better partnership.
Thank you so
You've
much.
been amazing.
Thank you.
And that has just been picked up, whether it's Xerox has picked up tweets, so NAPCO has picked up tweets. You've picked up tons of when we met, it's like, oh, I know you from Twitter. And because of the alias. So social media isn't just about Twitter, it's about engaging the community and helping each other help each other. And when the printers start to recognize the value, last year's user group, I led a session over lunch just teaching them how to create a Twitter handle. You don't have to I said, you don't have to tweet, you can just be online and stalk. And especially for events, find out the hashtag of the event and follow it and just engage in, oh, I didn't know we could do that. This is where I feel as marketers, we need to help the audience out there. We know it. It's 101 for us. We have to remember that the rest of the world doesn't live in our shoes, and it doesn't just come second nature, and we have to remind them calls to action, include a phone number. So there you go.
Thanks so much. Kim?
Thank you. I'm going to echo what Joanne said, and I think if I talk about what Arific has done here at Graph Expo, we're a small company. I wish we had the Xerox marketing budget. That would be nice, but we're not there
So
yet.
Subers, he wishes you had it too.
So,
I actually have a lot of Xerox's marketing budget. Just
Actually, he's got it all.
okay. Anyway, I think things, number one, I want to say I completely agree with Joanne about the Printerverse Alliance. This has been fantastic for us. We were lucky to meet Deborah at D-Scoop event in Dublin, and this is how it all
And
came.
I met you because you sent me a press release, and I was
Correct.
like, and it was very compelling.
Right.
And I sought you out at the event, and you were like, "This is so weird. We're looking for you," and I'm like, "I'm looking for you." So you actually started it. So thank
Okay,
you.
good. All right. So I think it doesn't have to be complex. This doesn't have to be a daunting task for printers. And again, if we look at what we've been doing with Arific, so this is their first Graph Expo. We didn't really know what to expect, but they took, we'll call it the multi-channel approach, and in a small way. So they started with an email campaign to let their North American customers know they were here. We've joined this. We've been part of these panels. We took advantage of the opportunity that Graph Expo gave us to have a press and analyst event, so that really helped. We got in the show daily. We're doing, traditional things with print, like a little contest at the booth, so that anyone that comes by has an opportunity to win a $50 iTunes gift card. And because it's a Swedish company, we're trying to promote the Swedish element. We're giving away Swedish fish. They're very good about putting announcements up on their website, and so like many of you, they use Twitter. They're selective in their content. They're not doing a lot, but they're being very targeted and specific in what they're communicating. And I think a big part of this too will be the follow-up. Like any marketing campaign, it's going to be very critical to follow up after the show and make sure that we reach out to those customers. And then if I may, for 1 second, on the printer side of things, having worked with a lot of printers, as you all have, and I echo everything you're saying. It's very hard, it's challenging for them. They're trying to run a business and make money. They don't have marketing departments with 22 people that can do all this for them. So I think the advice is, pick a few things, do it well. Your website is your calling card. And my second piece of advice would be to really look at video. Get your customers to say a few words about what they do with you, how they do business with you, what they like about doing business with you. And if you can get a few clips up on your website, I mean, that speaks volumes to other potential customers that are looking to do business with you.
And YouTube is the second highest search engine other than Google, so it's a pretty good place to have some content. Yes, please, Matthew.
So I just wanted to follow up on the comment that you were having between Arific and Deborah, that you sought each other out because you had an interesting press release. We're talking a lot about channels in today's panel, but it doesn't matter what channel you're using. It doesn't matter whether you're going to be disruptive or you've got this marvelous multi-channel campaign worked out. None of it will work if you don't have an interesting message that is engaging for your customer. And there's so many printers out there who send out press releases about their latest press or about their fantastic service and quality, and it doesn't engage the average customer these days. Yes, all that stuff is really important because you've got to run the right company, but for your customers, they want to hear what's in it for them, and you have to have the right message.
Thanks so much. Supers, we'll go to you. And by the way, we call him Supers because there's Mark Michelson and Mark Supers, so we call him Supers, but I guess I should call you Mark on the panel.
You can just call Michelson Mick Markelson, because that's what everyone seems to be calling him this week. Just to echo what you said, we talk a lot about ad blindness with our advertisers, and there's a certain amount of, you said about engaging content. There's certain people that, I'm obviously active in LinkedIn and Twitter and so on, but you have to pick your spots, right? And it has to be meaningful content, because if it's not, for me, I'm just, the people that just post to post, they do it wrong, right?
Or post to solve their own problem that they're posting about.
Right. It has to be engaging content. It has to be meaningful, and it has to be the right timing to capture people, like you guys did in Dublin. Right? It has to be the right timing. So, otherwise, I think we do run into, and I suggested to the clients that we work with, I'm like, look, you have to change creative, you have to change call to actions, you have to make it do it a little bit differently. Because if you don't, that sense of ad blindness, especially online, it just becomes so apparent, and you frankly just don't even see it anymore. And it's really dangerous.
I'm actually going to ask another question now, but you can.
I can't keep rambling.
No, let's actually give it to Xerox. You've had enough airtime. How do you? What is the process between marketing and sales when it comes to creating messaging and choosing the channels for your promotions, and who is responsible for making sure both needs are being met?
We actually have kind of a twofold.
Can you talk a little louder, please?
Yeah, we actually have a twofold approach. There's some marketing activities that are initiated by the division, or you can think of it as headquarters inside of Xerox, and then there's other marketing activities that are initiated regionally by the various operating companies. And when it's initiated by the operating companies, there's a very strong connection with the sales organization. They're providing input on messaging as well as identifying, very specific customers that they would like to be part of a particular initiative. Certainly a better ROI, right, if you're being more targeted and specific. And the messaging is different when it's from a particular region to their customers. When it's generated by the division or headquarters, it's more, I'd say, a higher level message, a broader message. And in that instance, we're working more at a corporate level and kind of deciding what those messages and initiatives and channels that we're going to utilize would be. So it's a partnership, but I would say the level of messaging is very different, whether it's something that's more local based or headquarters based.
Okay, Matthew, I'm actually going to skip over you and go to Avanti now. And we'll come back to you.
This is just our
So I'm glad that you brought up messaging, because that was one of the things I wanted to talk about in the last question. No matter what you do, print, digital, skyscrapers, smoke signals, you have to have consistent messaging. And when you say marketing and sales, I have to hope that the days of marketing versus sales is gone. I have to hope that sales truly understands and values the role that marketing plays in the sales process. Yes, we are not revenue generators. Yes, we are the ones that spend money. But spending money results in revenue. And having that consistent message and helping to educate the sales force not only on what the message is, but why it matters to their customers, to me is what has really helped drive some of the success that we've seen over the last couple of years. And I think that that's true for most successful companies. That's not to say that every now and then we'll see a PowerPoint presentation that the sales team has done and I just sort of shake my head. But the fact is I do get to see them. So when I have the opportunity to provide my input, they're very grateful, and then they will use what I help. So I hope that answers that question.
Yes, Kim?
Sure. I think I'll just sort of build on everything here and say that one of the key components of a sales and marketing plan and a message and how you want to delineate is really to have a plan. So I think there should be a goal, and if we're talking about ROI here, a river runs through it. A situation like this where we have a trade show, I mean, the number one thing that we want to do is get business. So we need to support the sales efforts the best way we can, and that's with lead generation and everything else. And, marketing should go hand in hand with that and be doing everything they can to support the sales activities, however that happens to come about. But I think, number one, you need to have a plan and have some goals, because you can't just show up and hope that things will work out.
And, go ahead. We'll go to Subers and we'll go to Matthew. You want to go? Okay, we'll go to Matthews, then we'll go to Subers. Matthew.
Okay, so I want to take a slightly different perspective, because there's some slightly larger organisations here who've got some great strategies in what they're doing. But let's look at the average copy shop and they're lucky if they've got a salesperson, let alone a marketing team. So what I'm finding really encouraging now is that you were worried, Joanne, that it would be sales versus marketing, that actually sales is beginning to embrace marketing. And I've spoken to 2 coffee shops recently who've really embraced the fact that they've been used to selling, and they've realized that actually these days the hard sell doesn't get in the results, and they're changing, and they're beginning to think like marketeers, and they're beginning to think they need to get a presence out there for their customers, which will help them, their sales efforts, and their sales efforts can be a bit softer and more successful because of that. So I think that mindset is changing. The other thing that was really brought home to me was a company I was talking to who sell cross-media solutions really successfully. And they're on a forum, and someone asked them, so what was the biggest investment that you made? And it was, you knew that the expectation for the answer was going to be, well, it was a software and we to do X, Y, Z. And the guy came back and said, the biggest challenge for us, the biggest investment was the time we put into changing our culture as an organization and beginning to learn and think like marketeers, because that helped us to sell better to our customers.
Thanks so much. Supers?
Yeah, just to build on that a little bit, I totally agree with you guys. It's the lines are blurred, right? So, I went to Dave Laskuski, who is my boss, and he runs NAPCO Media, brought me to a CEO group he was in. It's called Vistage, and they had a speaker. He's really fantastic. He was talking about support as a marketing and sales effort. Like, what, what are you talking about? They're the front lines. They're the ones that have ears and eyes on everything that's happening. They could really be an effective marketing tool, if you want to say that. So it's everyone's responsibility. We say in NAPCO Media, it's like everyone's developing product, everyone's responsible for driving revenue, so everyone has to embrace that marketing and sales connotation to a certain degree, and I think the clients, to your point, they've gotten pretty sophisticated, right? And they don't want to hear speeds and feeds necessarily. They want to hear solutions, right, and outcomes. And that's really, I think, is a really important thing. So everyone in your organization has to be able to talk to that. Go to the Xerox booth, everyone has to be able to talk about what the solutions are and have it being really meaningful. So I think the lines are blurred. I think everyone's responsibility, and marketing is now, just look at the marketing budget, even compared to IT now, marketing automation platforms, all the big muscle that you can put into marketing, their budgets are now bigger than IT, generally speaking, in larger corporations. Pretty impressive to say where the marketing arm has come over the last few years.
Thanks so much. And Joanne, you touched upon this for a second, but I actually want to go back to it and talk about how do you ensure message and customer experience consistency, and who monitors this? And customer experience is something I'm actually practicing in this booth this year, starting from the table tents and the waters in front of you to make sure that everybody welcomed you when you came into the booth. I mean, you drank all your water? We'll get you another one, Brody. It's, from your website to your communications, it's all customer experience. But let's talk about the messaging. So, Kim, we'll start with you.
So messaging is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and I am a true believer that you really have to have a story, an elevator pitch, a value proposition, whatever you want to call it. If you're a printer today, it's not good enough to just say, I print and, here's my price. You need to differentiate yourself, and you need your customers to understand what you do, how you do it, who you sell to, and what your unique advantages are. And I think it's very important. So I think the messaging is key. And it's not just you, the printer, the owner of the business. This needs to translate and permeate your entire organization, so that somebody in the shipping department or the marketing department or any department, that you're all speaking the same story and you're all giving the same message to your end users and your customers. And sometimes it's difficult, because it's hard to do that inward-looking thing and come up with what is my value proposition. But I think it's kind of the foundation of everything you do and build for your business.
I was working with a company that had a competitor have a very big promotion that was going to completely impact the conversations that they wanted to have with their customers. And I said to them, does every single person in your company know how to answer that question of why did you do this? Because it was the same technology, but it was a different company. And how are you prepared to answer that question? They kind of looked at me like I had three heads. I said, whether it's the receptionist or the salesperson or the president of the company, you all have to be on message on how you're going to address this, because it is a big deal to this company. I just wanted to say that, Joanne.
So I agree, and I'm the first one to preach about messaging. Messaging is the foundation for everything. If you think of a house, if you have cracks in your foundation, at some point that house is going to crumble, or it's going to cost a lot of money to repair it. So spend the money up front, build that strong foundation. So look at messaging the same way. Take the time, to Deborah's point, make sure everybody understands the message, not just sales and marketing, because you might be out, somebody in your support team or your development team could be out on the weekend and washing their car, and a new neighbor, oh, hi, how are you? What's the first question? What do you do? Where do you work? Oh, that's interesting. What do they do? Oh, we sell print. Oh, okay.
Right.
Nice to know you, right? Everybody knows, oh, okay, we sell print. What can you say to make that different? Okay? We help, perhaps the answer is, we help you make money by getting in front of the right people. Oh, really? How do you do that? Get to the point where they're saying to you, oh, really? How do you do that? To me, that's the compelling elevator pitch. And I just want to touch a little bit on what you said about experience. I'm known as being somebody who might be a little bit
Crazy,
detail-oriented. To me, if I go to a trade show, it's not enough to have a booth. I want it to be an experience. To the minute detail, I want to know from the time you are greeted to the time you leave the booth, you are having an engaging experience and you leave saying, wow, I got something out of that. Whether it's the giveaway, whether it's the promotion, whether it ties back to the website, to the print campaign. Did it take a lot for me to say Happy National Girls Who Print Day? Absolutely not. It took a frantic call to then say, oh, right, can we add this to the ad? Because I remembered, and I was just glad that I was able to do that. It doesn't take a lot, but you have to just be willing to sometimes sit back and take a breath and remember, okay, what can I do to elevate this experience and make it special and memorable? And as printers and as marketers, we have to just sometimes take a step back and think, what can I do to make my customer feel special and welcome and engaged so that they're going to remember what I did for them?
Thanks so much, Matthew.
Okay, I just did a workshop about this 2 days ago. Messaging is one of the things that I teach to printing companies, because when I was a customer, I had such a bad experience with all the printers going, hey, I'm a printer, I've got this press, I do great service, I do great quality, I hug trees and I've got cheap prices. And about 98% of printers who approached me came out with a version of that message. So if you want to engage me as a customer, here's a simple 4-step way to do it. Okay, first of all, pick a target audience. You can't be all things to everyone. So go out and say, actually, we work with agencies, or we work with legal companies, or we work with restaurants, whatever it is. But I'm so much more engaged at that point. Then understand my business and understand the challenges that I face that you can help with. And there's a quick hint here, it's probably nothing to do with print or vendors not supporting you or anything like that. It's probably that I need, if I'm a restaurant, I need to get more people through the door. I need to get people engaged with my menu. Whatever it is in their world. Okay, so know that. The best customer you have is someone who's hurting, who's almost in tears, okay, as long as it's before you deliver the job. Then know how you solve that problem, but don't spend 5 hours telling the customer. If they're interested, they'll ask you more. But just answer that in 5 seconds. And finally, because you've done a great job of selling print here, and then the customer will probably go out and try and find someone cheaper. So the last bit is to make sure that the customer understands why you're different, why they should use you. Do you have a particular product that helps, a process? Do you have particular market specialization? But make sure the customer understands why they should use you and not one of the competition.
Thanks so much. Xerox?
Xerox. What's your new name? Xerox.
It's my new name. That's my new name.
Well, no, I'm doing that
No,
because
I know.
most people remember companies. They'll never remember your name.
No,
but
I
they'll
know.
remember, wow,
He's
that
just-
Xerox lady said something really cool. Trust me on this. This is
No,
my
he's-
4th year.
He's just giving me a hard
He's-
time.
you,
That's all.
you can't sit next to anybody, just so you know.
That's why he's at the end, right?
It's why he's at the end, so we can kick him off the island.
I wanted to actually share a best practice from one of our customers. When we talk about aligning messaging, I think it also applies to having everybody in the company be able to articulate what it is that they do and to have a shared experience about it. And Demont Printing out of Fresno, California, really wanted to showcase their ability to do multi-channel marketing for their customers. And so they decided that they wanted to have an open house event to, not only thank their good customers, but to promote their new capabilities. So they wanted to create a multi-channel campaign to practice what they preach. So there was an alignment there. But they also involved everybody in the organization, which is what I thought was brilliant. It wasn't just, the marketing person and getting some leads from the salesperson to create this campaign. They actually involved the folks in the production area. Everybody in the company was involved in all of the elements from, identifying the targeted customers they were going after, working with the database, creating doing the creative, actually being there and participating in the event. And it was what a better way especially for the sales reps and the production folks to be able to talk about what it's like to create a multi-channel campaign because they had that shared experience of doing it themselves and doing it with each other. So they aligned on message, they aligned on capabilities, and they wound up having a fantastic 35% response rate and a wonderful way to recognize their customers. But I think it was they really lived that whole idea of being aligned on messaging, and especially messaging when it relates to what it is that you do.
Right.
Because you will get very different reactions.
Thanks so much. Mark?
Yes, NAPCO Media. You just call me by NAPCO Media from now on.
Media. Well, actually, this is an interesting question for you because you have more than one message to be responsible for.
We do, and actually I'd like to address it a little bit from something that we're doing actively right now, because printers I've been in this for a long time, and I used to have sales guys come to me, and we would print directories and brochures, and I'd probably buy a fair amount of print, and they'd come to me and, well, how many pages is it? Is it black and white? Is it a 4/4 cover? Okay. I'm like, what are you you're not adding any value to this conversation. All you're doing is taking specs and spitting back a price to me. And my favorite was when they would say, would you like a print sample? I'm like, are you going to send a bad one? Okay, because I assume you can print, right? That's why I'm talking to you in the first place. But the differentiation, because of where we've come from out of the industry, let's face it, print was a very, very profitable, enterprise, this industry, for a really long time. And I don't know that I don't want to say people didn't work hard. That's disingenuous. But I think that I came from the paper side, and boy, the boondoggles and the trips, and there was money, a lot of money coming through paper and publishing and printing and so on. That's changed, obviously, quite a bit. Consolidation of the industry. But so the differentiation piece, we're actually kind of taking that on a little bit with printing impressions. We have a partner called Butler Street, and we're doing something, and I think that, but you're a little bit aware of it. It's called the Best in Print and Digital. And what we're trying to do is there's benchmarking based on a Net Promoter Score. Are you guys familiar with Net Promoter Score? There's benchmarking in a lot of other industries based on Net Promoter Score, and we're trying to bring this to the print industry. So the differentiation is you go out and you talk to your customers, and it's about loyalty. You score high in a Net Promoter Score, that's your messaging, okay? All the people I have are very loyal to me because I do the job right. Okay, if you score low, you're in trouble. People are going to walk away from you. So we're going to try to bring some benchmarking to the industry, and we hope we get a lot of engagement from the print community to be able to that. Purely what we're doing this for is differentiation. Being able to differentiate based on your client's response to you.
Thanks so much. And we actually do have some questions from social media. Sandy Hubbard.
Okay, I'm kind of guessing what these people meant by this question. You talk about getting customers and in that process conveying ROI during the marketing and sales process. Once you have a customer, are you involved in conveying ROI to the existing customer? Does customer service or sales handle that? Or do you even show the customer why it's worthwhile to, what their analytics have been and what's the value of them continuing to be a customer?
Go ahead, Kate, you start. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. One of the things that I meant to bring up before when we were talking about, I'll use a trade show as an example. You know how I said we spend a lot of time in advance promoting it. But what happens after the show? If you don't have a follow-up strategy, all the money you spent to generate those leads is money down the toilet. Bottom line, I don't care how successful, how much buzz, if you can't figure out a way to touch those people again and reinforce the message, re-engage them, give them another call to action, remind them why they are important and why they are valued, whether they are a prime A lead or somebody that you're going to nurture over time who will eventually become hopefully a prospect and a customer. You really need to focus on that end-to-end strategy. Critical. So many companies, and whether it's a trade show or advertising or direct mail or LinkedIn, what are you going to do once you've engaged that person and got them to speak to you? That's what matters. One more part, again, you now have the customer. Please don't forget about them. I think I spoke about this in one of the other panels. One of the things that we do when we have a customer that goes live, we send them a little gift. Thank you. I've had people request more mouse pads because they love the fact that I took the time to send them, a mouse pad and a pen and whatever. This clicked in my brain years ago because I referred a customer to my dentist, and within a few weeks in the mail, I received a thank you card and a lottery card. Thank you. It's like, how nice was that? And yes, that's still my dentist 20 years later.
Okay, so should you worry about your current customers? And yes, of course you should, because if you don't, you're not going to have a business. But let's take it a little bit further. Depending on which study you read, it's somewhere between 7 and 12 times more expensive to get some business from a new customer than it is to upsell your current customer. So that's another reason why your current customers are vital. I think the other part of the question was, who worries about this? Is this a sales thing or a customer service thing? Who does it? So my advice would be, make sure that your customer service people are empowered and encouraged to service customers well and to sell to them and grow that account. Then your salespeople can go out and start hunting for the new business. But equally set some guidelines so that if customer service people see some excellent opportunities that are really changing the game, or if they see some things which are flashing some red warning lights, that there's some routes for them to take it and go, right, someone else needs to go and take some care of this customer at this point so that we can get some more business or make sure we don't lose them because it's getting to a point that we're not happy with. And I think if you put in some guidelines like that in a company, you're probably in quite a good place. At the moment, I see a lot of printing companies get a current customer, either left with customer services who were very production focused, and I fully understand that because some customer services people are just run off their feet, or they're left with a salesperson who is either so much in their comfort zone they just go and take orders, or they forget about that customer because they're focused on new business. Make sure you have those strategies right for retaining and growing your customers and making them raving fans like that's happened to Joanne.
Thanks so much, Xerox.
I think ROI is critical. I know at Xerox we receive no marketing budget unless we have a plan in place and metrics established. And any customers that we work with, we encourage the same thing. And it speaks, I think, Kim, you had talked about the importance of having that plan up front. And so whether our customers are undertaking a new marketing initiative, a new promotion, we ask them to treat it the very same way. You know, what is the plan? What are the goals? What are those measurable, milestones or measurable, the metrics that you're going to establish and actually track? Lots of times people will establish metrics, but they won't necessarily, go back and say how successful was that initiative. And you really have to. How else could you then build upon a success or perhaps change course or change direction? So you really need to establish the metrics and then actually track against them.
Okay, so we're a little over, but we're going to just finish this question. Mark, if you can answer them, we'll let Kim answer,
Sure.
and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure. So most of all that we do is very measurable, and since one of my clients is sitting next to me, they hold us accountable for what we do.
I can attest to the fact that he measures everything.
Everything, right?
Every time he emails me, there's an Excel chart attached to it.
Pivot tables. That's where it's at.
Oh my gosh.
So no, it's really important, and to a bigger statement, I think here, not just having a plan in place and measuring it, but this is part of the partner relationship, right? So you don't just print something for somebody, give them an idea, and walk away and bury your head in the sand. We have a lot of clients, and I'm very actively working with them to say, did that work or didn't it? If it didn't work, let's address it. Why? Okay, let's shift, let's change. For me, a lot of the people that we work with, this is a quarterly review. I mean, full stats, sit down, we tried something, we went in a certain direction, how did it work? This worked great, this didn't work great, let's shift, let's change, let's modify. But everything can be measured now. So, and you're right, I mean, you do have to put a plan in place and make sure you do follow through with it. But that is part of the give and take of a real partnership, I believe, and that is really an important part of working together.
Thanks so much, Kim, and then we'll wrap it up.
I'm just going to put a sort of simplified view on this for printers in the audience that maybe don't have sophisticated data analytics and don't have all the mechanisms in place to measure things. And I think you can look at things in a way that if you're investing time prospecting for customers and you win a sale, great. What made you win that sale? Ask the customer. If you lost the sale, well, why did you lose it? Was it price? Was it something? I mean, this kind of method can be very simple, but it can be very effective if you're a smaller company and you don't necessarily have all the resources at your disposal to do, calculations on ROI. So I just want to put that out there as kind of a basic. We won the business, great. Why did you buy from me? Oh, we lost. Can you tell me why you didn't buy from me?
Right. And I keep repeating something Matthew said yesterday, which is after everything you do, every time you touch have a milestone with a customer, send them a note. What could I have done better? And until they have nothing to say, you always have some way to approve, some way to adjust your message. Did you understand that? To your point, why didn't this promotion work? I think a lot of people are afraid for that feedback, and they want to shelter themselves from it. But really, it's weird because a lot of people think I'm very blunt, but yet in the same, and everyone out here is like, really? You think that's a shock? But I have to tell you that there's a lot of companies I talk to who are just not used to hearing people telling them the truth. They have a lot of yes people around them. And when I say to them, no, I'm really not interested in that product, they don't understand why. They think I just want their money, but they haven't made a compelling story why anybody would care about it. So I can't get involved with it. So everybody here has given everyone at home some pretty great advice on how to up their game, talk to customers, create new marketing endeavors. I really appreciate the panel's time. Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody at home. There's a lot of people watching all day long. Thank you for everyone in the Printiverse today, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks again.